Hebrew. ॐ अज्ञानतिमिरन्धस्य ज्ञानाञ्जलशलाकया चक्षुरुन्मिलितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरुवे नमः। श्रीचैतन्यमनोभीष्टं स्थापितं येन भूतले स्वयं रूपा कदा मह्यं ददाति स्वपदान्तिकं। वन्दे गुरुं श्रीयुक्पदकमलं श्रीगुरून् वैष्णवांश्च श्रीरूपं साग्रजातं सगणरघुनाथान्वितं तं सजीवम् साधुतं सावधूतं परिजनसहितं श्रीकृष्ण श्रीगणललिता श्रीविशाखान्वितांश्च नमां विष्णुपादाय कृष्णपृष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमद्भक्तिवेदान्तस्वामिनिति नाम्ने नमस्ते सरस्वती देवी गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेषशून्यवादी पाश्चात्यदेशतारिणे हे कृष्ण करुणा सिंधु दीनबंधु जगत्पते गोपेश गोपिकाकांत राधा कांत नमोस्तु भक्त कांचन गौरंगी राधे वृंदावनेश्वरी वृषभानुसुते स्वामी हरे वंशकल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपा सिंधु पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः। जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौर भक्तवृंद। हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे। Chapter 18. Prithu Maharaj milks the earth planet. Text 1. The great Saint Maitreya continued to address Budura. My dear Budura, at that time, after the planet Earth finished her prayers, King Prithu was still not pacified, and his lips trembled in great anger. Although the planet Earth was frightened, she made up her mind and began to speak as follows in order to convince the king. Text 2. My dear Lord, please pacify your anger completely and hear patiently whatever I submit before you. Please turn your kind attention to this. I may be very poor, but a learned man takes the essence of knowledge from all places, just as a bumblebee collects honey from each and every flower. Text 3. To benefit all human society, not only in this life but in the next, the great seers and sages have prescribed various methods conducive to the prosperity of the people in general. Text 4. One who follows the principles and instructions enjoined by the great sages of the past can utilize these instructions for practical purposes. Such a person can very easily enjoy life and pleasures. Text 5. A foolish person who manufactures his own ways and means through mental speculation does not recognize the authority of the sages who lay down unimpeachable directions and is simply unsuccessful again and again in his attempts. Text 6. My dear king, the seeds, roots, herbs, and grains which were created by Lord Brahma in the past are now being used by non devotees who are devoid of all spiritual understanding. Text 7. My dear king, not only are grains and herbs being used by non-devotees, but as far as I am concerned, I am not being properly maintained. Indeed, I am being neglected by kings who are not punishing these rascals who have turned into thieves by using grains for sense gratification. Consequently, I have hidden all these seeds which were meant for the performance of sacrifice. Text 8. Due to being stocked for a very long time, all the grain seeds within me have certainly deteriorated. Therefore, you should immediately arrange to take these seeds out by the standard process which is recommended by the Acharyas or Shastras. Text 9 to 10. O great hero, protector of living entities, if you desire to relieve the living entities by supplying them insufficient grains, and if you desire to nourish them by taking milk from me, you should make arrangements to bring a calf suitable for this purpose and a pot in which the milk can be kept, as well as a milkman to do the work. Since I will be very much affectionate towards my calf, your desire to take milk from me will be fulfilled. Text 11. My dear king, may I inform you that you have to make the entire surface of the globe level. This will help me even when the rainy season has ceased. Rainfall comes by the mercy of King Indra. Rainfall will remain on the surface of the globe, always keeping the earth moistened. And thus it will be auspicious for all kinds of production. Text 12. After hearing the auspicious and pleasing words of the planet Earth, the king accepted them. He then transformed Swambhuva Manu into a calf and milked all the herbs and grains from the earth in the form of a cow, keeping them in his curved hands. Text 13. Others who were as intelligent as King Prithu also took the essence out of the earthy planet. Indeed, everyone took this opportunity to follow in the footsteps of King Prithu and get whatever he desired from the planet Earth. Text 14. All the great sages transformed Brihaspati into a calf and making the senses into a pot. They milked all kinds of Vedic knowledge to purify words, mind, and hearing. Text 15. All the demigods made Indra, the king of heaven, into a calf, and from the earth they milked the, the beverage soma, which is nectar. Thus they become very powerful in mental speculation, bodily and sensual strength. Text 16. The sons of Diti and the demons transformed Prahlad Maharaj, who was born in an Asura family, into a calf, and they extracted various kinds of liquor and beer, which they put into a pot made of iron. Text 17. The inhabitants of Gandharva Loka and Apsara Loka made Visvasu into a calf, and they drew the milk into a lotus flower pot. The milk took the shape of sweet musical art and beauty. Text 18. The fortunate inhabitants of Pitraloka who preside over the funeral ceremonies made Aryaman into a calf. With great faith they milked kavya, food offered to the ancestors, into an unbagged earthen pot. Text 19. After this, the inhabitants of Siddhaloka as well as the inhabitants of Vidyadharloka transformed the great sage Kapila into a calf and making the whole sky into a pot. They milked out specific yogic mystic powers, beginning with anima. Indeed, the inhabitants of Vidyadhar Lok acquired the art of flying in the sky. Text 20. Others also, the inhabitants of planets known as Kimpurusa Loka, made the demon Maya into a calf, and they milked out mystic powers by which one can disappear immediately from another's vision and appear again in a different form. Text 21. Then the Yakshas, Rakshas, ghosts, and witches, who are habituated to eating flesh, transform Lord Shiva's incarnation Rudra Bhutnath into a calf and milk out beverages made of blood and put them in a pot made of skulls. Text 22. Thereafter, cobras and snakes without foods, large snakes, scorpions, and many other poisonous animals took poison out of the planet Earth as their milk and kept this poison in snake holes. They made a calf out of takshaka. Text 23 and 24. The four-legged animals like the cows made a calf out of the bull who carries Lord Shiva and made a milking pot out of the forest. Thus they got fresh green grasses to eat. Ferocious animals like tigers transformed a lion into a calf, and thus they were able to get flesh for milk. The birds made a calf out of Garuda and took milk from the planet Earth in the form of moving insects and non-moving planets and grasses. Text 25. The trees made a calf out of the banyan tree, and thus they derived milk in the form of many delicious juices. The mountains transformed the Himalayas into a calf, and they milk a variety of minerals into a pot made of the peaks of hills. Text 26. The planet Earth supplied everyone his respective food during the time of King Prithu. The earth was fully under the control of the king, thus all the inhabitants of earth could get their food supply by creating various types of calves and putting their particular types of milk in various pots. Text 27. My dear Vidura, chief of the Kurus, in this way King Prithu and all the others who subsist on food created different types of calves and milked out their respective eatables. Thus they received their various foodstuffs which were symbolized as milk. Text 28. Thereafter, King Prithu was very satisfied with the planet Earth, for she sufficiently supplied all food to various living entities. Thus, he developed an affection for the planet Earth just as if she were his own daughter. Text 29. After this, the king of all kings, Maharaj Prithu, leveled all rough places on the surface of the globe by breaking up the hills with, with the strength of his bow. By his grace, the surface of the globe almost became flat. Text 30. To all the citizens of the state, King Prithu was as good as a father. Thus, he was visibly engaged in giving them proper subsistence and proper employment for subsistence. After leveling the surface of the globe, he earmarked different places for residential quarters inasmuch as they were desirable. Text 31. In this way, the king founded many types of villages, settlements, and towns and built forts, residences for cowherdsmen, stables for the animals, places for the royal camps, mining places, agriculture towns, and mountain villages. Text 32. Before the reign of King Prithu, there was no planned arrangement for different cities, villages, pasturing grounds, etc. Everything was scattered, and everyone constructed his residential quarters according to his own convenience. However, from the time of King Prithu, plans were made for towns and villages. Hare Krishna.
कृष्णा
हरे कृष्ण हरे ब्रो
आवाज सुनाई दे रहा है तो क्लियरली? कृष्णा
जी जी ब्रो आवाज आ रही है पढ़िए ब्रो
Chapter 19, King Prithu's 100 horse sacrifices. Text 1. The great sage Maitreya continued, My dear Vidura, King Prithu initiated the performance of 100 horse sacrifices at the spot where the river Saraswati flows towards the east. This piece of land is known as Brahmavarta and it was controlled by Swayambhuva Manu. Text 2. When the most powerful Indra, the king of heaven, saw this, he considered the fact of King Prithu was going to exceed him in fruitive activities. Thus, Indra could not tolerate the great sacrificial ceremonies performed by King Prithu. Text 3. The Supreme Personality of Godhead, Lord Vishnu, is present in everyone's heart as Super Soul, and he is the proprietor of all planets and the enjoyer of the results of all sacrifices. He was personally present at the sacrifice made by King Prithu. Text 4. When Lord Vishnu appeared in the sacrificial arena, Lord Brahma, Lord Shiva, and all the chief predominating personalities of every planet as well as their followers came with him. When he appeared on the scene, the residents of Gandharva Loka, the great sages, and the residents of Apsara Loka all praised him. Text 5. The Lord was accompanied by the residents of Siddha Loka and Vidyadhara Loka, all the descendants of Diti, and the demons and the Yakshas. He was also accompanied by his chief associates, headed by Sunanda and Nanda. Text 6. Great devotees who were always engaged in the service of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, as well as the great sages named Kapila, Narada, Dattatreya, and Master of Mystic Powers, headed by Sanaka Kumara, all attended the great sacrifice with Lord Vishnu. Step 7. My dear Vidura, in that great sacrifice, the entire land came to be like the milk producing Kamadhenu, and thus by performance of yajna, all daily necessities of life were supplied. Text 8. The following rivers supplied all kinds of taste, sweet, pungent, sour, etc., and very big trees supplied fruit and honey in abundance. The cows, having eaten sufficient green grass, supplied profuse quantities of milk, curd, clarified butter, and similar other necessities. Text 9. King Prithu was presented with various gifts from the general populace and predominating deities of all planets. The ocean and seas were full of valuable jewels and pearls, and the hills were full of chemicals and fertilizers. Four kinds of edibles were produced profusely. Text 10. King Prithu was dependent on the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who is known as Adhokashaja. Because King Prithu performed so many sacrifices, he was superhumanly enhanced by the mercy of the Supreme Lord. King Prithu's opulence, however, would not be tolerated by the King of Heaven, Indra, who tried to impede the progress of his opulence. Text 11. When Prithu Maharaj was performing the last horse sacrifice, Ashwamedha Yajna, he invisible by everyone, stole the horse intended for sacrifice. He did this because of his great envy of King Prithu. Text 12. When King Indra was taking over the horse, he dressed himself to appear as the liberated person. Actually, this dress was the form of the cheating, for it falsely created an impression of religion. When Indra went to outer space in the way, the great sage Atri saw him and understood the whole situation. Text 13. When the son of King Prithu, informed by Atri of the king Indra's trick, he immediately became very angry and followed Indra to kill him, calling, "Wait, wait." Text 14. King Indra was ardently dressed as a sannyasi, having knotted his hair on his head and smeared ash all over his body. Upon seeing such dress, the son of King Prithu considered Indra a religious man and pious sannyasi, therefore he did not release his arrows. Text 15. When Atri Muni saw that the son of King Prithu did not kill Indra but returned, deceived him, Atri Muni again instructed him to kill the heavenly king because he thought that Indra had become the lowest of all demigods due to his impeding the execution of King Prithu's sacrifice. Text 16. Being thus informed, the grandson of King Vena immediately began to follow Indra, who was fleeing through the sky in great haste. He was very, very angry with him, and he chased him just as the king of the vultures chased Ravana. Text 17. When Indra saw that King son of Prithu was chasing him, he immediately abandoned his false dress and left the horse. Indeed, he disappeared from that very spot, and the great hero, the son of Maharaja Prithu, returned the horse to his father's sacrificial arena. Text 18. My dear Lord Vidura, my dear Lord Vidura, when the great sages observed the wonderful powers prowess of the son of King Prithu, they all agreed to give him the name Vijitaswa. Vijitaswa. Text 19. My dear Vidura, Indra, being the king of heaven and very powerful, immediately brought a dense darkness upon the sacrificial arena, covering the whole scene. In this way, he again took the horse away, which was chained with golden shackles near the wooden instrument where animals were sacrificed. Text 20. The great sage Atri again pointed out the son of King Prithu that Indra was fleeing through the sky. The great hero, the son of Prithu, chased him again, but when he saw that Indra was carrying in his hand a staff with a skull at the top and was again wearing the dress of a sannyasi, he still chose not to kill him. Text 21. When the great sage Atri again gave direction, the son of King Prithu became very angry and placed an arrow upon his bow. Upon seeing this, King Indra immediately abandoned his false dress of sannyasi and gave up the horse and made himself invisible. Text 22. The great hero Vijitaswa, the son of King Prithu, again took the horse and returned to his father's sacrificial arena. Since that time, certain men were with a poor fund of knowledge have adopted the dress of a false sannyasi. It was King Indra who introduced this. Text 23. Whatever different forms of Indra assumed as a mendicant because of his desire to seize the horse were symbol of atheistic philosophy. Text 24 and 25. In this way, Indra, in order to steal the horse from King Pithu's sacrifice adopted several orders of sannyasa. Sometimes sannyasis go naked, and sometimes they wear red garments and pass under the name of Kapalika. This is simply symbolic representation of the sinful activities. These so-called sannyasis are very much appreciated by sinful men because they are all godless atheists and very expert in putting forward arguments and reasoning to support their cases. We must know, however, that they are only passing as adherents of religion and are not so. In fact, unfortunately, bewildered person accept them as religious and being attracted to them, they spoil their life. Text 26. Maharaja Prithu, who was celebrated as very powerful, immediately took up his bow and arrows and prepared to kill Indra himself because Indra had introduced such irregular sannyasa orders. When text 27, when the priest and all others saw Maharaja Prithu very angry and prepared to kill Indra, they requested him, O great soul, do not kill him, for only sacrificial animals can be killed in sacrifice. Such are the directions given by such are the directions given by Shastra. Text 28. Dear King, Indra's power are already reduced due to his attempt to impede the execution of a sacrifice. We shall call him by Vedic mantras, which were never which were never used before used, and certainly he will come. Thus, by power of our mantra, we shall cast him into the fire because he is your enemy. Text 29. My dear Vidura, after giving the king this advice, the priest who had been engaged in performing the sacrifice called for Indra, the king of heaven, in a mood of great anger. When they were just ready to put the oblation in the fire, Lord Brahma appeared on the scene and forbade them to start the sacrifice. Text 30. Lord Brahma addressed them thus: My dear sacrificial performers, you cannot kill Indra, the king of heaven. It is not your duty. You should know that Indra is as good as the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Indeed, he is one of the most powerful assistant of the Personality of Godhead. You are trying to satisfy all the demigods by the performance of this yajna, but you should not. You should know that all these demigods are but part and parcels of Indra, the king of heaven. How then you can kill him in this great sacrifice? Text 31. In order to make trouble and impede the performance of King Pithu's great sacrifice, King Indra has adopted some means that in the future will destroy the clear path of religious life. I draw your attention to this fact. If you oppose him any further, he will further misuse his power and introduce many other religious systems. Text 32. Let there be only 99 sacrificial performances of Maharaja Prithu. Lord Brahma concluded. Lord Brahma then turned towards Maharaja Prithu and informed him that since he was thoroughly aware of the path of liberation, what was the use of performing more sacrifices? Text 33. Lord Brahma continued, let there be good fortune to both of you, for you and King Indra are both part and parcel of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Therefore, you should not be angry with Indra, who is not different from you. Text 34. My dear King, do not be agitated and anxious because your sacrifice had not been properly executed due to the provincial impediments. Kindly take my words with great respect. You should always remember that if something happens by providential arrangement, we should not be very sorry. The more we try to rectify such reversals, the more we enter into the darkest region of materialistic thoughts. Text 35. Lord, Lord Brahma continued, stop the performance of these sacrifices, for they have induced Indra to introduce so many irreligious aspects. You should know very well that even amongst the demigods there are many unwanted desires. Text 36. Just see how Indra The king of heaven was creating a disturbance in the midst of the sacrifice by stealing the sacrificial horse. These attractive sinful activities he has introduced will be carried out by the people in general. Text 37. O King Prithu, son of Vena, you are the part and parcel expansion of Lord Vishnu. Due to the mischievous activities of King Vena, religious principles were almost lost. At that opportune moment, you descended as the incarnation of Lord Vishnu, indeed for the protection of religious principle, and you have appeared from the body of King Vena. Text 38. O protector of the people in general, please consider the purpose of your being incarnated by Lord Vishnu. The irreligious principle created by Indra are but mothers of so many unwanted religions. Please therefore stop these imitations immediately. Text 39. The great sage Maitreya continued, when King Prithu was thus advised by the supreme teacher, Lord Brahma, he abandoned his eagerness to perform yajnas with great affection concluded a peace with King Indra. Text 40. After this, Prithu Maharaj took his bath, which is customarily taken after the performance of a yajna, and received the benedictions and due blessings of the demigods, who were very pleased by his glorious activities. Text 41. With great respect, the original king Prithu offered all kinds of reward to the Brahmanas present at the sacrifice. Since all the Brahmanas were very much satisfied, they gave their heartfelt blessings to the king. Text 42. All the great sages and Brahmanas said, O mighty king, by your invitation, all classes of living entities have attended this assembly. They have come from Pitraloka and the heavenly planets, and the great sages as well as common men have attended this meeting. Now all of them are very much satisfied by your dealings and your charity towards them. Hare Krishna.
अंशु पढ़ेंगे आप पढ़िए जी प्लीज आप थोड़ा भी पढ़िए मैं इसके बाद पढ़ लूँगा फिर हमको नॉइज आ रहा है इसलिए बिल्कुल चैप्टर 20 Lord Vishnu's appearance in the sacrificial arena of Maharaj Prithu. Text 1. The great sage Maitreya continued, My dear Vidura, being very much satisfied by the performance of 99 horses, the Supreme Personality of Godhead Lord Vishnu appeared on the scene. Accompanying him was King Indra, the Lord, then began to speak. Text 2. Lord Vishnu, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, said, My dear King Prithu, Indra, the King of Heaven, has disturbed your execution of 100 sacrifices. Now he has come with me to be forgiven by you. Therefore, excuse him. Text 3. O King, one who is advanced in intelligence and eager to perform welfare activities for others is considered best amongst human beings. An advanced human being is never malicious to others. Those with advanced intelligence are always conscious that this material world is different from the soul. Text 4. If a personality like you, who are so much advanced because of executing the instructions of the previous acharyas, is carried away by the influence of a material nature, energy, then all your advancement may be considered simply a waste of time. Text 5. Those who are in full knowledge of the bodily conception of life, who know that this body is composed of nations, desires, and activities resulting from illusion, do not become addicted to the body. Text 6. How can a highly learned person who has absolutely no affinity for the bodily conception of life be affected by the bodily conception in regard to a house, children, wealth, and similar other bodily productions? Text 7. The individual soul is one, pure, non material, and self effulgent. He is the reservoir of all good qualities and he is all pervading. He is without material covering and he is the witness of all activities. He is completely distinguished from other living entities and he is transcendental to all embodied souls. Text 8. Although within the material nature, one who is the situated in full knowledge of the Paramatma and Atma is never affected by the modes of material nature, for he is always situated in my transcendental loving service. Text 9. The Supreme Personality of Godhead Lord Vishnu continued, My dear King Prithu, when one situated in his occupational duty engages in loving service without motive of material gain, he gradually becomes very satisfied within. Text 10. When the heart is cleansed of all material contamination, The devotee's mind becomes broader and transparent, and he can see things equally. At the stage of life, there is peace, and one is situated equally with me as Sachitanand Vigraha. Text 11. Anyone who knows that this material body, mode of five gross elements, the sense organs, the working senses, and the mind is simply supervised by the fixed soul is eligible to be liberated from material bondage. Text 12. Lord Vishnu told King Prithu, my dear king, the constant change of this material world is due to the interaction of the three modes of material nature. The five elements, the senses, the demigods who control the senses, as well as the mind who is agitated by the spirit soul, all these taken together comprise the body. Since the spirit soul is completely different from this contamination of gross and subtle material elements, my devotee who is connected with me is in intense friendship and affection, being complete in knowledge, is never agitated by material happiness and distress. Text 13. My dear heroic king, please keep yourself away, equipoised, and treat people equally, whether they are greater than you in the intermediate stage or lower than you. Do not be disturbed by temporary distress or happiness. Fully control your mind and senses in this transcendental position. Try to execute your duty as king in whatever condition of life you may be posted by my arrangement. For you, for your only duty here is to give protection to the citizen of the kingdom. Text 14. To give protection to the general mass of people who are citizens of the state is the prescribed occupational duty of a king. By acting in that way, the king in his next life shares one-sixth of the result of the pious activities of the citizens. But a king or executive head of state who simply collects taxes from the citizens but does not give them proper protection as human beings has the results of his own pious activities taken away by the citizens, and in exchange of his not giving protection, he becomes liable to punishment for the impious activities of his subjects. Text 15. Lord Vishnu continued, my dear King Prithu, if you continue to protect the citizens according to the instructions of the learned Brahmana authorities, as they are received by the disciple succession by hearing from the master to disciple, and if you follow the religious principles laid down by them without attachment to ideas manufactured by mental concoction, then everyone of your citizens will be happy and will love you, and very soon will be able to see such already liberated personalities as the four Kumaras, Sanak, Sanatan, Sanandan, and Sanat Kumar. Text 16. My dear king, I am very much captivated by your elevated qualities and excellent behavior, and thus I am very favorably inclined toward you. You may therefore ask from me any benediction you like. One who does not possess elevated qualities and behavior cannot possibly achieve my favor simply by performance of sacrifices, either austerities or mystic yoga. But I always remain equipoised in the heart of one who is equipoised in all circumstances. Text 617. The great Saint Maitreya continued, my dear Vidura, in this way, Maharaj Prithu, the conqueror of the entire world, accepted the instructions of the Supreme Personality of Godhead on his head. Text 18. As King Indra was standing by, he became ashamed of his own activities and fell down before King Prithu to touch his lotus feet. But Prithu Maharaj immediately embraced him in great ecstasy and gave up all envy against him for his having stolen the horse meant for the sacrifice. Text 19. King Prithu abundantly worshipped the lotus feet of Supreme Personality of Godhead, who was so merciful to him. While worshipping the lotus feet of the Lord, Prithu Maharaj gradually increased his ecstasy in devotional service. Text 20. The Lord was just about to leave, but because he was so greatly inclined toward the behavior of King Prithu, he did not depart. Seeing the behavior of Maharaj Prithu with his lotus eyes, he was detained because he was always the well-wisher of his devotees. Text 21. The original king, Maharaj Prithu, his eyes full of tears and his voice faltering and choked, could neither see the Lord very distinctly nor speak the address to address the Lord in any way. He simply embraced the Lord within his heart and remained standing in that way with folded hands. Text 22. The Supreme Personality of Godhead stood with his lotus feet almost touching the ground while he rested the front of his head on the raised shoulder of Garuda, the enemy of the snakes. Maharaj Prithu, wiping the tears from his eyes, tried to look upon the Lord, but it appeared that the king was not fully satisfied by looking at him. Thus the king offered the following prayers. My dear Lord, you are the best of the demigods who can offer benedictions. Why, therefore, should Any learned person asks you for benediction meant for living entities bewildered by the modes of nature. Such benedictions are available automatically, even in the lives of living entities suffering in hellish conditions. My dear Lord, you can certainly bestow merging into your existence, but I do not wish to have such a benediction. Text 24, my dear Lord, I therefore do not wish to have the benediction of merging into your existence, a benediction in which there is no existence of the nectarian beverage of your lotus feet. I want the benediction of at least 1 million years, for thus I may be able to hear about the glories of your lotus feet from the mouth of your pure devotees. Haribol. Text 25. My dear Lord, you are glorified by the selected verses by great personalities. Such glorifications of your lotus feet is just like saffron particles when the transcendental vibrations from the mouth of great devotees carries the aroma of the saffron dust of a lotus feet. The forgetful living entity gradually remembers his eternal relationship with you. Devotees thus gradually come to the right conclusion about the value of life. My dear Lord, I therefore do not need any other benediction but the opportunity to hear from your mouth, from the mouth of your pure devotee. Text 26. My dear highly glorified Lord, if one in the association of pure devotees hear even once the glories of your activities, he does not unless he is nothing but an animal give up the association of devotees, for no intelligent person would be so careless as to leave their association. The perfection of chanting and hearing about your glories was accepted by the goddess of fortune, who desired to hear of your unlimited activities and transcendental glories. Text 27. Now I wish to engage in the service of the lotus feet of the Supreme Personality of Godhead and to serve just like the goddess of fortune, who carries the lotus flower in her hand, because his lordship, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, is the reservoir of all transcendental qualities. I'm afraid that the goddess of fortune and I would quarrel because both of us would be attentively engaged in the same service. Text 28. My dear Lord of the universe, the goddess of fortune Lakshmi is the mother of the universe, and yet I think that she may be angry with me because of my intruding upon her service and acting on the very platform to which she is so much attached. Yet I'm hopeful that even though there is some misunderstanding, you will take my part, for you are very much inclined to the poor, and you always magnify even insignificant service onto you. Therefore, even though she becomes angry, I think that there is no harm for you because you are self-sufficient that you can do without her. Text 29. Great saintly persons who are always liberated take to your devotional service, because only by devotional service can one be relieved from the illusion of material existence. Oh my Lord, there is no reason of the liberated souls to take shelter of your lotus feet, except that such souls are constantly thinking of your feet. Text 30. My dear Lord, what you have said to your unalloyed devotee is certainly very much bewildering. The allurements you offer in the Vedas are certainly not suitable for pure devotees. People in general, bound by the sweet words of the Vedas, engage themselves again and again in fruitive activities, enamored by the results of their actions. Text 31. My Lord, due to your illusory energy, all living beings in this material world have forgotten their real constitutional position, and out of ignorance, they are always desirous of material happiness in the form of society, friendship, and love. Therefore, please do not ask me to take some material benefits from you, but as a father, not waiting for the son's demand, does everything for the benefit of the son, please bestow upon me whatever you think best for me. Text 32. The great sage Madhya continued by saying that the Lord, the seer of the universe, after hearing Prithu Maharaj's prayer, addressed the king, my dear king, may you always be blessed by engaging in my devotional service. Only by such purity of purpose as you all yourself very intelligently express can one cross over the insurmountable illusory energy of Maya. X33, my dear king, O protector of the citizens, henceforward be very careful to execute my orders and not be misled by anything. Anyone who lives in this way, simply carrying out my orders faithfully, will always find good fortune all over the world. X34, the great Saint Madhya told Vidura, the Supreme Personality of Godhead amply appreciated the meaningful prayers of Maharaj Prithu. Thus, after being properly worshipped by the king, the Lord blessed him and decided to depart. Text 35 and 36. King Prithu worshipped the demigods, the great sages, the inhabitants of Pitraloka, the inhabitants of Gandharva Loka, and those of Siddhaloka, Charana Panna Kinnara Loka, Apsara Loka, the earthly planets and the planets of the birds. He also worshipped many other living entities who presented themselves in the sacrificial arena. With folded hands, he worshipped all these, as well as the Supreme Personality of Godhead and the personal associates of the Lord, by offering sweet words and as much wealth as possible. After this function, they all went back to their respective abodes, following in the footsteps of Lord Vishnu. Text 37. The infallible Supreme Personality of Godhead, having captivated the mind of the king and the priests who were present, returned to his abode in the spiritual sky. Text 38. King Prithu then offered his respectful obeisances unto the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who is the Supreme Lord of all demigods. Although not an object of material vision, the Lord revealed himself to the sight of Maharaj Prithu. After offering obeisances to the Lord, King returned to his home. Hari Bol. 20 हमारा हो गया है. अब इसमें बाकी है 20 के बाद 21 से 29, मतलब और 3 दिन में हो जाना चाहिए.